Hey everybody, welcome to the channel, True Crime Stories. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like button and subscribe so you can hear more. Thanks for stopping by. On Unsolved Appalachia, Northeast Tennessee. Sullivan County, Tennessee Sheriff's Office, an ongoing missing person investigation. On Monday, April 19, 2021, family members of Ralph Nelson, who at the time was 51 years old, of Blountville, Tennessee, reported to the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office that they had not been in contact with him since April the 4th. It was reported that Nelson left on foot from a residence on Patterson Hill Road and had not been heard from since. A media release regarding Nelson was sent by Sullivan County Sheriff's Office on Tuesday, April the 20th, 2021, and information was posted on their Facebook page. Investigators are still looking into finding anyone who may have had contact with Nelson around that time. If anyone has seen or spoken to him since then, please come forward with information. You may remain anonymous. Nelson is now 53 years old. He is a white male, 5'11", weighing around 150, a reddish blonde, strawberry blonde hair, and a beard, and blue eyes. He is slightly balding in the front. There's really nothing else on him everywhere that I've checked, so I'll just end this one and I'll say if anyone has any information, please contact the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office at 423-279-7331. Adam Baird was a Campbell County, Tennessee man who loved to hunt, fish, and go camping with his family. He was last seen March 31st, 2019. Anyone who would like to report information about Adam Baird can leave a message with the Campbell County Sheriff's Office at 423-566-3784. You may leave your message anonymously. You don't have to give your name. The family says that their priority is locating Adam. After he was last seen around March the 31st, he had a conversation with his mother, and he told his mother that his wife had been lying to him since the beginning. His mother tried to provide him some comfort, but he drove off and she never seen him again. The vehicle that Adam was driving was found on Big 4 Road in the Stinking Creek community. Now, his family reported him missing after they found his car. The Big 4 Road was searched by ground and air, but Adam was nowhere to be found. Over time, Adam's family and friends provided information about his relationship with his wife. Adam's marriage apparently started out good, but everything changed when his wife started becoming violent. She had allegedly stabbed him in the back during a fit of rage, but Adam never reported this to law enforcement. According to his family, law enforcement got tips saying that Adam went to visit his wife on the day he disappeared. He found her with a man who she said was her new boyfriend. Adam was allegedly hit in the head, and he had a seizure, and then he was shot by his wife. Now, this is according to anonymous tips. So unless this was someone that was connected to her and this man that she was with and knows that the two of them did this, or at least she did it, A $4,000 reward has been offered for information leading to the location of Adam Baird. Adam had struggled with drug abuse for quite a period of time in his life. His family talks about that in the podcast. He would go months at a time where he would be clean, and he would be talking about going to get a job. He talked about going to work with a family member, and I think it was in Georgia. And then his mother said that he had also been talking about going to Kentucky, and that he had plans. His plans was to stay clean, to get a good job, and to try to get custody of his kids back. Now, his kids had been taken out of the home by the state, and eventually they were adopted by a family. And Adam had these ideas that he could get custody of his kids back. He wanted to put his marriage back together. He wanted to get his kids back and put his home family life back together, but he had to stay clean from drugs, and that was something that his family talked about he struggled with quite a bit. The day he left, his mother talked about he came to her house and he was telling her that he found out that his wife had been lying to him from the beginning, is the way he put it. His mother says that he had had a backpack and he had taken some clothing, and she thought that he was still in the house when one of the other family members came and told her that not only had he left, but he had taken her car. Adam's family also described the days leading up to the last day that they saw him. Now, in the weeks and months leading up to this, but especially in the last week or so before he disappeared, his behavior had become more erratic. His family described that he had become so addicted or was using the drugs so much that he had gotten to the point that he was talking to himself, talking to people who weren't there. He was really just in bad shape, is the way that his brother described it. Now, his one brother was the last person that was known to have seen him, said that he had a bag packed and that he was ready to leave and go somewhere. His brother asked him, did he want to ride with them to town? And he told him no. When they came back, the car was gone and he was gone. And that was the last time that they saw him. Now, a day or two passes and nobody's heard from him. Nobody's seen him. His mother calls the police. They tell her that it's not been long enough to file a missing person report, which I don't understand that. But so March 31st was the last day that his family saw him. He was officially reported missing on April the 4th. Now, his dad and his brother had driven to town, and they spotted the car parked along the roadway. They get out, they holler for him, they look around, they don't see him anywhere. They think he's just left the truck sitting there and got into a vehicle with somebody else. But when they came back through, the vehicle was still parked there. So the dad drove the car on home, and this is when they really started to become worried about him. They thought he would not have left the car after a couple of days. They said even in his state of mind, when he would be really bad on the drugs, that he would eventually come back to his house, to his mother's house where he lived. Adam's brother and dad, when they found the car, his brother described in the podcast. Now, this podcast is the Vanished Podcast. You can find it. Just Google it. He says that he felt like there was someone else possibly had driven the car there and parked it and left it, because the keys were laying on the dash, and he says Adam would always have put the keys under the floor mat. He says the seat was let back too far for where Adam would have been sitting. Now, it's possible that someone came along, saw this car there, and started rambling through it looking for something, and maybe they moved the seat back, maybe they moved the keys, I don't know, but his brother just doesn't really believe that Adam was the one who left the car where it was found. Now, he also says that a week before this, Adam had gone to jail and he had been picked up along that same road. He said it was nearer where the car was found, but it was in a kind of a little bit farther out. But he had been picked up by the police and they left the car sitting there and taken him to jail. He doesn't say what he was taken to jail for. So their first instinct was maybe he'd gotten picked up again. They called the jail. The jail didn't have him. And so they started calling around looking for him. And after a couple of days, they just realized he would not, if he was in jail, he would have called. If he was, injured or hurt, someone would have called the family. But they never heard from Adam again. Now, Adam's family described him as someone who liked to, as a younger person before he became involved in these drugs and his life took a turn, he liked to fish and hunt, ride four-wheelers, and ride horses. They say that he was very familiar with the woods in the area where the car was found, and some people believe that maybe he had gone into the woods, maybe he had gotten into some kind of trouble, maybe he was just finally fed up with all the rumors and stuff and all the stuff going on with his wife and his kids being removed and the drug use. But his family and his friends described that he would have been very familiar with the woods and he would not have tried to become like a survivalist and stay, and live off the land. After a night or two of camping out in the woods, he would have returned home. Now, one thing I will say, in the event that remains are ever found, if that's the case, Adam was born with what is known as hip dysplasia, and it caused him to have some pelvic disorders and problems with his legs. So as a very young child, he had went to the Shriners Hospital and he had to wear leg braces. So this is something that could possibly show up if human remains are ever found, if, his pelvic area may be distorted somewhat. So that was something that I wanted to include just in that event. Now, the producers of this podcast say that they reached out to his wife, Casey, and she really didn't exactly decline to speak to them. They told her that they were making this podcast, that they were interested in knowing what she might be able to provide about Adam. And she asked them what did they want to know. They said that she said, we didn't really talk that much anymore since we were separated, and she didn't really know what they were interested in knowing. And they asked if she would be willing to speak with them on the phone. They didn't want to do this over text messages, and she never answered them back. They never were able to speak to her. Friends and family members describe Adam's relationship with her as that it started out really good and that the family seemed to like her, that her and Adam had known each other basically all their lives, and that everything seemed good at first. And when they got married, after about a year, Adam had a good job. He was described as having a good job. He had his life together at that point, and he was in his mid-20s at this point. His friends say they don't know that he ever really used hard drugs until later on in his mid to late 20s. And he was 33 when he disappeared, and the drug use had gotten much worse probably within the last year or so before he disappeared. So they say that he seemed like he had a pretty good relationship with her, but once they got married and their first child came along, the family describes that she really became more controlling. She wanted Adam to more or less stay away from his friends and family and just kind of prevented him from really getting out and doing stuff with his buddies and so forth. And she may have had her reasons for that. Maybe she felt like that when he got around those people, that he was, doing things that she didn't approve of. There's always two sides to the story, and the rumors and stuff that went on was that her and Adam had separated, and the children had been removed from both their care, and she had moved on apparently to a new relationship. This was the side of the story that where the rumors came from, that she and this new man in her life had done something to Adam. And so that was never proven. Now, the strangest thing about the whole story, the rumors that went around about the possibility that Adam had been murdered by his wife and her new boyfriend, was that it was said, now this is according to Adam's family in the podcast, that her mother, the wife's mother herself, had contacted the police and told them that some violent act had taken place, that she had known from the day that Adam went missing that he was dead. All these different people apparently have contacted the police, according to the family, and the police didn't really want to, like, it was from their perspective, the police just wasn't really looking into this as a possibility. They said that Adam's wife, the family felt like the day that Adam left, that he thought maybe he was going back home. So some people wondered if maybe she had set him up to lure him over and told him, come on back over and let's talk and we'll try to work things out. But everyone said that she'd already moved on to a new relationship. She was not attempting to put her family back together. She had signed her parental rights over. She wasn't interested in getting her children back. She herself was also on drugs, and they didn't think that there was any possibility that these children were going to be returned to either of them. And so some people wondered if the rumors were true. In one story, they say that Adam, that they were arguing and that someone came up behind him and hit him in the head, and that Adam began to have a seizure. So during the act of him having this seizure, his wife shoots him in the head. Now this, unless there was an eyewitness there that actually saw this, it's mostly just been rumors, but they say so many people have called the police with this story, but the police are probably looking at it like, where's the evidence? Where's his body? Let us find his body. If he's been shot in the head, if we find the type of caliber of weapon that it was, if he has blunt force trauma to his head, then maybe we will start to listen to that story. But right now, it's just rumor. Now, his sister does say in the podcast that the police did interview some of these people, so it wasn't like the police weren't putting forth any effort whatsoever. After Adam was reported missing, they did come out with search parties. They used helicopters. They used dogs. They looked for Adam. And so I don't want people to get the idea that the police just kind of blew this off. They interviewed people. His sister described that they had interviewed most of the people who were willing to give their name, and the people who, his brother and his friend, who were the last ones to speak to him that day. So the police were not like just saying, we're not interested in trying to get to the bottom of this. Now, in an earlier event during the time when Casey and Adam were still living together as husband and wife, his sister and his mom described that Adam had been cut really badly on his upper shoulder on his back. And he had come to his mother's, and he told his mother that they'd gotten into a fight and that she threw a coffee cup at him and that this coffee cup had cut him. But his mother didn't believe that because she said it was more like a slash, a very bad cut. And he refused to go to the doctor. He didn't want anybody to report this. And so his mother helped to doctor this wound on his back, and his sister said that this left a horrible scar. he had a very noticeable scar where this had taken place. And at another time during their marriage, she had cut him on his arm really badly. So she had become very violent and was a domestic abuser within this marriage. And he would not report it to the police the way so many other domestic violence people, in relationships don't. He was being abused by this woman, apparently, according to the family. And so he didn't want people to know that. And he was embarrassed, and, he just kept it within his family. Now, his mother says that it was around 3 years when the Department of Children's Services had first gotten involved in Casey and Adam's home life, and had been he had become so isolated from his family, and he was so secretive that he wasn't telling his family the side of all this. And they had no idea in the very beginning that the children were being, watched, that they were being watched and investigated for allegations of abuse and not being able to care for their children because of the drug use and so on. So it came as a little bit of a shock to Adam's family when they found out that the children were removed from the home. And Adam wanted to try to, according to his family, he wanted to try to get his kids back. He wanted to try to set things right, and that he just could not shake the drug abuse in order to do that. But that they described that he had become so isolated from his family, and we know that that's another pattern of domestic abuse. And apparently, according to his mom, DHS had tried to work with them. They had tried to keep the family together. They helped them to move out of her parents' home and into their own home. They wanted them to have their own home with their children, and it just did not work out. Now, once again, I just want to make it known that all the stuff that's being said about his wife, Casey, is hearsay. It's all stuff that other people have said and other people have told. And with Adam not around to say, yes, this is what happened, and he even lied to his mother, or at least he told his mother that he had been hit in the back with a coffee cup and not stabbed. So everything that everybody has said about her is just as far as the police is concerned, as far as this video, as far as my telling of this story, and in the podcast, they also say it's all hearsay and rumor. There's been nothing to prove it. And so I just want to make that known. I'm not accusing anybody of having done anything. I'm just repeating stuff that has been said in this podcast by Adam's family members. I don't think that they spoke to anyone within her family. She would not respond to their messages, but it was just said that she did not appear to be interested at the point that Adam disappeared. She did not appear to be interested in working things out. She had moved on. Her kids had been taken, and she was just okay with that, or she decided to not fight it. Now, not all fingers pointed at Casey. In one interview, his brother described that a friend of Adam's, it's kind of hard to follow it, but there was rumors going around that they'd been seeing each other's wives, that maybe Adam had been seeing someone's wife, or this friend of Adam's had been seeing his wife, Casey's, Adam's wife, Casey, and that maybe they'd gotten into a fight with each other. And he says that it could be possible, more possible, because the location where the vehicle was found, where the vehicle was last known to be, would be closer to where this guy would be than Casey's family. So Adam's family and friends describe him as not being a fighter. He was not a violent person. They say he was not a very big person. And throughout his life, he'd been really quiet and hadn't really got into a lot of fights the way a lot of the boys do in school and stuff. And Adam was pretty much a calm-natured type of person. And that it was one of the rumors that went around after Adam went missing was that this man in the area who Adam knew he had gotten into it with before, that he'd got the better of Adam and that he'd beat him up. I don't know how long before this was supposed to have happened, before Adam went missing, but that this man was known as someone in the area who was pretty violent and had some fights with a lot of people, and nobody really wanted to mess around with him because he was known to be pretty violent. And the rumor is that he had caught Adam with his girlfriend. And so could it be possible that when Adam was out driving that day, he ran into this guy? That's one more rumor. Another was that he was using drugs with some men and that they all got into a fight over the drugs and that they beat him to death. But the police did search for Adam. This is in northern Tennessee, bordering Kentucky. And this is very rough, wooded terrain. And deep in these hills. They possibly could have concealed his body somewhere, and it would have been very difficult. This takes me back to the story of the Hawkins brothers and how the wooded areas were searched. And while people don't think police did enough, they did bring in search groups of people to search, and they searched for 3 or 4 days in these hills, but they found no traces of Adam. One more frustration that the family had about the police, was that, just like with the Hawkins brothers story, was that the police never really did anything to the car. But now keep in mind, they did say that the dad drove the car home when they found it. So they wondered why the police didn't fingerprint the car and search through the car looking for any kind of maybe blood evidence or anything like that. But they say that the police didn't. Now, Adam Baird is described as being 5'7" tall and about 150 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. He's been missing since March 31st, 2019. Now, despite Adam's drug use, he is missed very much by his family. His family talks about how painful this has been for them. In the podcast, they describe having to listen to all these rumors and to sit back and wait for some real, true, concrete evidence to come out about what could have happened to him. And his family's still looking for answers, and they miss him very much, despite what had taken place in his life and the changes that had overcome him due to the drug use. He was still the same son and brother that they knew and loved. This woman says that she is Adam's daughter. I sure do wish we had some answer, she says. He made his share of mistakes, but he loved his children with his entire heart. When he went to sign the papers to proceed with the termination of his parental rights, he made the statement that he knew he couldn't give us what we deserved and that we were better off to be adopted by our new parents. Now, if anyone has any information and they want to contact police, they can do so anonymously on the Campbell County Sheriff's Office tip line, 423-566-3784. Before I begin the next part of this story, I would just like to remind everybody, if you haven't already, to like and subscribe to the channel so you can hear more content. This next story kind of feels like almost a similar situation as the story of Adam Baird. This man was last known to be going to visit his children to deliver them some Easter baskets. I couldn't find a whole lot of details about his background and his relationship with his children's mother, and if there was a possibility that something had been going on between them, but I wanted to cover his story as well. Charles Christopher Massey, missing from Madisonville, Kentucky since 1997. Massey was last seen in Madisonville on March 30th, 1997. He was delivering Easter baskets to his children. His sister spoke to him on the phone on April the 2nd. He has never been seen or heard from again. Massey lived in Hanson, Kentucky. His case remains unsolved. He is a white male. He was 29 years old at the time that he went missing. He was 5'10", 180 pounds. Everyone called him Chris. He has scars on his right arm and around his mouth. He has a tattoo of brass knuckles, a straight razor, a hunting knife, and the words, "Love thy neighbor," on his upper right arm. Officials say Massey's sister said she spoke to her brother on the phone, but she had not heard from him since then. So the last time anyone actually saw him was March 30th. His sister spoke to him 2 days later or 3 days later on the phone, and I have not been able to find any more details. He was delivering Easter baskets to his family, to his children. Was there a problem between him and the children's mother? Did the children's mother have a new husband or boyfriend? Had they had problems? Could it be that he went back to see his kids? Maybe he wasn't able to. It doesn't go into detail about what the sister says she spoke to him about. It just says she spoke to him, so it could just be that they just had a normal brother and sister conversation. There was no problems or anything. It doesn't say anything about any stories, about what may have been going on or if anything was going on. The investigating agency is the Kentucky State Police. The agency email is scott.smith@kentucky.gov. If anyone has any information, they may contact the Kentucky State Police, or they may email that address, or they may call 270-676-3313. Thanks for watching.